Vanessa had not even set her bag down on the floor before she began announcing who would be living where in the lakeside cabin. What left Ethan speechless was not what she was saying. It was the way she said it, as though every decision had already been made months ago. That morning, the surface of Blue Ridge Lake lay perfectly still beneath the soft light of early autumn. Harold Bennett stood on the porch, quietly watching as the car pulled up along the stone driveway. He had been expecting nothing more than a normal family visit. But only minutes after stepping inside, Vanessa began moving from room to room. She opened each door, surveying the space with a calculating glance. This room is large enough for my parents. The east room could become an office. The master bedroom should stay exactly as it is. Everything was said so naturally that it sounded as if she were introducing her own home. Harold did not interrupt. He simply watched in silence. Ethan followed a step behind his girlfriend, occasionally nodding in agreement. He failed to notice the subtle change in his father's expression. It was not anger. It was not disappointment. It was clarity. For years, Harold had been the one who always gave way. After his wife passed away, he devoted much of his life to supporting his son. From college tuition to the down payment on Ethan's first apartment, he had never said no whenever Ethan needed help. Because of that, Ethan had grown accustomed to hearing his father agree. But there was something neither Ethan nor Vanessa knew. 3 months earlier, Harold's closest friend had passed away after a long and bitter inheritance dispute with his own family. Before he died, he said something Harold could never forget. People rarely take your home by force. They take it through the moments when you stay silent. As Vanessa continued discussing plans to move furniture in before Christmas, Harold heard those words echoing through his mind once again. And, for the first time in many years, he found himself wondering whether his kindness had been mistaken for submission. The atmosphere changed completely after a single sentence. Vanessa set her tablet down on the table and smiled as though she were announcing a plan that the entire family had already agreed upon long ago. Actually, my parents have already started packing. She spoke gently. We're planning to move here before the end of autumn. Harold looked up. For the first time that morning, he met Vanessa's gaze directly without looking away. Who gave permission for that to happen? The room fell silent instantly. Vanessa blinked. It seemed she had not prepared herself for that question. Ethan spoke first. Dad, this is just the most practical solution. The house is so large, it's a waste for you to live here alone. Harold did not answer right away. He looked out through the window toward the lake. Small ripples spread across the water from the old dock in the distance. Then he turned back. What surprises me is not this plan. It's the fact that you think you have the right to make decisions for me. His words were calm, yet they made Ethan visibly uncomfortable. Vanessa quickly regained her confidence. We only want what's best for the whole family. Harold nodded slightly. That was exactly what made him realize the problem. No one was asking for permission. They were making an announcement. And the difference between those two things was enormous. At that moment, an unexpected detail surfaced in his mind. A few weeks earlier, several large packages had been delivered to the cabin. They were addressed to Vanessa's mother. A month before that, he had received furniture advertisements sent to this exact address under her father's name. At the time, he had assumed it was a mistake. But now all the pieces were beginning to fit together. This plan was not a sudden idea. It had been in motion for a very long time. Vanessa continued talking about the future, about living together, about all the benefits everyone would enjoy. But Harold was no longer really listening. For the first time, he understood exactly what was happening. In their eyes, this house was no longer his home. It had become an asset they simply assumed they would eventually claim a share of. And that was the moment Harold decided everything had to stop. Harold did not argue any further. Nor did he try to convince anyone. Instead, he slowly walked toward the wooden cabinet beside the fireplace and pulled out a dark blue folder. That simple, composed gesture caused Vanessa to stop speaking mid-sentence. Ethan frowned as he watched his father. Harold placed the folder on the table. The sound was so soft it was almost impossible to hear. But the weight of what it contained was something entirely different. 3 months earlier, he had met with an attorney. After the death of his closest friend, Harold decided it was time to organize all of his affairs. Not because he was afraid of losing his home, but because he wanted to make certain that the decisions affecting his life remained his own. He opened the first page. This cabin now belongs to a family trust. Every occupancy rule is clearly documented in writing. No one is permitted to move in without the direct approval of the trust administrator. That administrator is Harold. The color immediately drained from Vanessa's face. She quickly flipped through several pages as though searching for a loophole. There wasn't one. Ethan stared at his father in complete disbelief. "When did you do this?" Harold looked at his son. There was no anger in his eyes. Only a calmness Ethan had never seen before. "From the moment I realized that loving someone does not mean giving them the right to make decisions for me." No one said another word. A few minutes later, Vanessa quietly suggested that they leave. The plans she had spoken about so confidently that morning disappeared as quickly as the mist drifting across the lake. 3 weeks later, Ethan called his father. For the first time in years, he was not asking for help. He said only one thing. "I'm sorry for not seeing things from your perspective." Harold smiled as he set the phone down. The cabin was still there. The lake remained as peaceful as ever. But something had changed forever. He had not only protected his home, he had reclaimed the boundaries he had lost many years ago.